地球是世界上最好的体育。How's that?
I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea. Max, thank you so much for being our first guest,
It's my pleasure.
especially because you're my team captain. I just let you down.
You know what? You competed, you fought, you have not let anyone down.
Thank you, Max.
That's what I get paid the big bucks to be.
It's true. It's a very lucrative job. You should all consider being team captains. Definitely boost your income.
Definitely.
Max, my understanding is you lived in China for a while.
That is true. I studied Mandarin language in undergrad, and then I decided I wanted to continue down that path of learning and exploration, so I moved to China right after I graduated.
And you had a fairly interesting job there.
US-China trade policy, and then worked for a few big American companies, Intel and Amazon.
So you worked for the US government or some trade agency first. You learned Mandarin.
Yes.
And has that been useful to you? Now you're back in New York?
Not as useful on a daily basis as I would have originally imagined, but it does come in handy at certain opportune times.
I'm thinking maybe Chinese restaurants?
That is the obvious one. Shocking some people in the elevator who are talking smack.
I love that.
So if I'm feeling down, I just come in, shock the people, and then I'm like, oh, I'm funny and interesting.
Can you say something in Mandarin? Like, how about squash is a fabulous sport?
地球是世界上最好的体育。How's that?
I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea.
Squash is the world's best sport.
Wow, that's really impressive.
I still try to speak with people when I get the opportunity. I actually met someone who's from China at Open Squash in Bryant Park, and we did a Mandarin only dinner, like a bunch of tech guys, and spoke in Chinese the entire time. So sometimes
That's pretty cool.
squash and Mandarin do, in fact, intersect.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I wonder if you can have a Mandarin only squash match too.
I've done that before. In Chinese, there's a funny way of counting to 10 on one hand.
Can you show us?
It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's normal.
Yeah.
And then 6 is this, 7 is this, 8, 9, and 10. 10. So you can count. So it's convenient for keeping score.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you worked for the Trade Commission, then you worked for Intel, then you worked for Amazon, and I know you worked for Amazon in the United States. Did they move you back? How did that work?
They did move me back. I wanted to come back. I think it was my time to return to America.
Right.
I moved from China back to Seattle. So I lived in Seattle for a couple of years, put in my time at the Amazon mothership, and then made it over to
New
York City.
Oh, fist bump. Boom. But you don't work for them anymore.
I do not.
You have started your own gig.
Yes, I have my own company. We are a workflow suite for financial advisors, helping them save time and deliver better service to their clients.
And if you're going to ask the squash community for something they could do to help you, because it's one of the things I love about the squash community, what would you ask for?
I would love to learn more about your experience working with a financial advisor if you've done so. And if you have spent time in the private wealth industry, also would love to talk. I'll provide a lucrative kickback.
Oh, even better. Tell us about your journey into squash.
I first learned about squash when I was in undergrad from some friends, and then sort of played on and off. And when I was in Beijing, I also played, every once in a while.
There's a squash scene in China?
There's a little bit of a scene there. Beijing had a lot of international presence, so a lot of Europeans and people from the Middle East, and to a certain extent from the US. So there was always like something going on.
So not unlike here, it's sort of a melting pot of people that are playing squash.
Yes.
So you started playing in Cornell, you continue to play a little bit in China.
Yes, kind of played maybe every few weeks or every few months.
Did you play squash in Seattle?
I did. That was my first experience playing in the league.
What division were you in back then?
3.0.
Oh, you've improved.
I've definitely improved. Are you kidding me? I've improved a lot. So I was really busy with just resettling into the US and new job. So squash definitely wasn't my top priority. Then I moved to New York. I had been a member of Equinox at the time, so I signed up for the Equinox squash program.
All squash programs are good
great.
programs. Yeah.
And started playing there pretty regularly, and then COVID happened. So
Ah.
that was put on a very direct pause,
Yeah.
as squash was in a lot of places.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of had that initial momentum starting to build, but then had to yeah. I had like really wet my palate of starting to get into playing more regularly, and I was really committed to, in my head, to get something going. So luckily, Open Squash Bryant Park had opened a few months prior. Didn't come and really start playing in open squash until the following spring, late spring,
Oh, 2021.
2021.
I now know Max is the captain of the FiDi Blue 4.5 team, and he's already told us.
So illustrious.
It's pretty awesome. He's already told us he was a 3.0 player, so you've made 1.5 rating points increase.
Not quite up to 4.5 yet.
But you're in the 4.5 group.
In the group, yeah.
You were in the 3.0 league, you're in the 4.5 league, so
Yeah.
that's a 1.5 increase. So you must have started spending a lot more time playing squash.
A lot more.
What is it about it that caused you to lean in?
Initially, it's sort of like a combination of fun and fitness.
Yeah.
But then, as you know, I started to spend more time. I really became more passionate about improving. I didn't play growing up, so I haven't spent all those hours ghosting and doing drills like some other people have had the opportunity to do. But you know, life is long, so there's a lot of opportunity to pick something new up and focus and do something that helps your mind and your body. And then I got to know the people and the pros and the people behind the front desk and other people who shared my same mentality of wanting to improve themselves physically and mentally and play a great game. It started to become more and more about the community as time went on. After that, I started getting involved in the league, and that's like a whole nother dimension because you get some real structured competition.
Yeah.
People are super supportive of your time and your effort to participate and show up and take it seriously. But then it's also about just people. You get to know people over, spending a couple days a week in the same place. You start to build some great relationships, and that's become a really important part of squash as well.
You've got a real community, and you've made real friends in the community.
Definitely. It's awesome.
You also mentioned that it helped you mentally.
Life in New York is busy, but having the opportunity to really focus your mind and body on something that gives you so much in return and also is just not work and not pure sort of like social life. It's just incredible. And you don't have to spend 7 days a week at the gym, but even just a few days a week of regular commitment starts to snowball in such an amazing way.
As we wrap up, if there's someone watching who doesn't play squash into this camera, what would you tell them to encourage them to come down and play?
The fun, the community, the fitness, the focus, it all just starts to build in such an amazing way. And also, the more you get into it, the more you're going to get out of it. New York City, it's a 4-season city, but squash you can play year round. It's something you can just work into your New York life.
All right, just as we close, Max, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think that I could do better as a host?
中文有一句话叫更上一层楼。我觉得你说的还好，你穿的也还不错，还是不要害怕表达自己的看法就好了。
Okay, well, I will decode that later and add it to the stream. Max, thank you, man.
Welcome.
It was great. All right.
My pleasure. Thank you.